Tonight's guest is Medium Nancy Matz, and we're going to be talking about messages from the dead. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Hope everybody had a great day. Welcome to California Haunts Radio. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. And I am also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, and that means that we are available in nearly every county in California. So if you think you might have a paranormal problem in your home, look us up. You can look us up at CaliforniaHauntsRadio.com, or you can look us up at CaliforniaHaunts.org, or check us out on Facebook. There's 2 California Haunts pages. Plus, plus I have a public profile on Facebook, so you can get me there. California Haunts Ghostly Events as well is available as well to you guys. If you're watching from Facebook, please hit that follow button. If you're not, check out the California Haunts Ghostly Events page. You hit the follow button there. If you're watching from YouTube, please subscribe. There's a little ghost in the bottom right-hand corner with a magnifying glass and a Sherlock Holmes hat on, and that's where the subscriptions are. There's more than 250 videos over there with different topics, and I think you'll find something that you like. So go ahead and subscribe. And if you're watching from Twitch, please subscribe. So I see the chat room's filling up already, and our guest tonight is Medium Nancy Matz. This is Nancy Matz Friday, and this is Casual Friday. See, I finally got my Aloha shirt on, see, for Casual Friday. So we're kicking back. I'm waiting on my haunted house. I did my Disneyland Haunted Mansion Hawaiian shirt, but this will do for now. Besides, it's California Haunts colors too. See that red? Anyway, I want to welcome everybody tonight. So we're going to have a nice discussion. We're going to talk about messages from the dead, and it's a topic that's dear to my heart because before I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, I was getting messages from my father and didn't realize it. It didn't hit me at the time until after I got the diagnosis. And I'll be talking about that because there were several things that happened that hasn't happened since in my house. And something happened when I was at a doctor's appointment, something I had to have done. So we're going to talk to Nancy about that. What are the subtle messages that people who are deceased send you? Okay, that you should maybe look out for or listen to, because you never know. You never know what they're gonna. I'm just looking at stuff. Yes, you never know what. I'm just looking at the messages. I'm gonna have to blow you guys up a little bit too because I'm blind. But you never know what's going to come from beyond to send you messages. It could be something subtle. So, but we'll let Nancy talk about that because that's what she does. Me, I just look for the ghosts. Nancy's the one that talks to them. All right. Anyway, so let me bring Nancy in.
Well, good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I've got aloha.
Pardon me?
I've got aloha. Look.
Aloha. Yes, I love it.
My Bird of Paradise shirt.
You have a couple of shirts on. Are you super warm in there?
Yeah, I'm thinking about Lizzie Borden right now.
You are.
If you listen to the book, Lizzie had the murder dress on, and then she threw another dress on top of the murder dress.
Yep.
And didn't have. So here I am. I've got one air conditioner on, thank God. But if I didn't, it'd be like Lizzie Borden. I've had my regular California Haunt shirt on, and then I've got this thing on.
I have. I'm at a house in Orville, and we have I'm not used to air conditioning up there in Hornbrook. It's we have one in the middle of the house, but not through hoses. And I'm not used to being chilly with this because of air conditioning. So I put a sweater on. Like, really? How hot is it outside?
That's what happens.
I know. I'm not used to being chilled middle of winter.
I sit in here, once this thing cools it down and I'm sitting in here, I have to get a blanket. That's how pathetic it is. I'm so used to like sitting out there with a fan, and then I come in here and I freeze to death.
Funny how that is. I missed the intro, what you were talking about, unfortunately. I realized anyway, everybody, we did a test run.
Most people do. They doze off and stuff during the intro, but it's cool. It's all good.
No, I couldn't hear. I forgot to turn. We were playing with equipment. So when I unplug and plug in again to get started, the sound on the computer was turned off. And I thought, there's too many gadgets for me to check every time.
See, now, Zoom, have issues. if you listen to the beginning of my shows, I'm forever saying, okay, did I push that button? Let's make sure I push this button and let's get this thing launched and rolling.
Well, I admit I'm new at this game, and I've had a lot of fun and ironing out all the stuff. We have a fun topic tonight because Shar, last show, I said a word, and I don't know if we expounded upon it, but later on in the week, it became evident. Did you share with them, the audience, at some
I have not yet, and this is why I was kind of giving them a briefer, because let's start off with mine. We might as well. We're here now. We're talking about messages from the dead, and
Right.
the way our loved ones can come back and contact us. And I'm not saying that my house is like a happening place, but I mean, I have it all the time. They're always watching me.
There's always people there.
I'm never alone.
Maybe you're just more sensitive. We don't know that.
You know, I'm just more sensitive. But before I got diagnosed with congestive heart failure, my dad used to sit up at our bar, not a bar, but a little breakfast nookie bar thing in my house. And he always sat there. That's where he watched TV. That was his spot.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the light bulb, because there's a kitchen light bulb fixture thing up above it, just a light bulb. The light bulb would keep shorting out, acting like it was shorting out.
Oh, yeah.
And this went on and on. I would change the bulb.
You stick the finger in it just to irritate you. Like, I want to get
I just couldn't figure out what it was. And then I'd go over and I'd tap it with a stick and it would stay on, you know. So this went on for like a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And then my cell phone in my office, I used to have the ghost apps on there, God forbid. And I had the one, you know, like the EVP app on there. And I got a message saying go to hospital. And I thought that was kind of weird. I couldn't figure out, you know, how could, in fact, you know, I don't know if anybody has ever used those. You got to physically go to the app, push the button, you know, turn the app on, and then you go into the settings to flip them on. So something physically had to do this. And I thought, okay, that's weird. So I got to the point where I couldn't breathe good. And I went in, and I always blow these things out because I have real bad asthma. So I went in for a routine appointment. And that's when they said, well, you are really congested and your weight's up. And I said, well, I don't understand why, blah, blah, blah. So then I went to cardiology, and boom, you know, I got diagnosed. But the funny thing was that I still didn't like put two and two together.
Yeah.
With what was going on with my dad. I go to this appointment because I was mostly alone doing this stuff. So I go to this appointment where they're going to run like radioactive stuff through my veins.
Ooh.
You know, so they can see what my blood flow is doing. And the first time I went, I couldn't go because my heart was racing at like 165 beats a minute.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so it was weird. It felt like there was a bunny in my chest because it just, you know. And so I had to go home the first time. They waited till I calmed down and went home. Second time I came in with my music on my phone, and I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to listen to some music and just keep myself home. But I didn't put it on, and they were the FM 102 station here in Sacramento. They play like bubblegum pop music, and that's what they were playing in the little, because they put you in a little room like the size of a cell, to wait for your turn to get injected and to be put on the table. And I was sitting there waiting, and the music switched to big band music. And what was weird, huh?
What'd you say, Bambi?
Big band.
Big band. Okay.
Like Glenn Miller and all this stuff.
Yeah. Dad's era.
And then my dad's favorite song came on. And that's when it hit me.
Yeah.
And I said, he's been trying to tell me. You know, I
tried to help you.
Yeah. So I went ahead, I went in, got the scan. They could barely get the scan done, but I got the scan done. And it was stuff like that with, you know, it was that was leading up to him pushing me along to do that. Now, last week, if you remember, you mentioned my dad was here, and he said something about popcorn.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was telling me because I was eating too much bloody popcorn. Well, it turns out I thought I had read the label on this stuff I was using for flavoring, and I hadn't read it completely through, or my glasses were, you know. And it turns out that 2 tablespoons of this stuff was like 60 milligrams of salt.
Is that a lot? I don't know.
The way I put it on. You know, because with me, I'm like, I want flavoring on this. Everything I eat is bland, so when I can get something to put on my popcorn.
Pour that on, honey.
And I'm eating popcorn every night. So he was warning me. 2 days later, I get on the scale. I'm 8 pounds overweight.
Oh,
So did the water pill drop to 8 pounds? It was all water. I'm still fighting it off now. It takes forever to fight it off. But I'm still fighting it off now. But I mean, he came back here to tell me to knock it off.
but there's more to the story. You didn't mention how you got a ticket to see Elvis.
Oh, yeah. And
You
then,
felt the message was because of that movie. Now tell the
yes.
story there.
And then last week, I had asked the world, because I hadn't seen Elvis yet, so I had asked the world about going to see Elvis. Would somebody, help me out, send me to Elvis? Sure enough, somebody did.
Wonderful. What a wonderful
So
gesture.
I got to go see Elvis. Thank you to the donor that wants to be unknown, but thank you so much. Best movie I've been. Now I'm telling you, I'm like the greatest Elvis fan in the world. So I've seen all those movies.
Yeah.
And there might have been some stretchers in this, but Austin Butler, he pulled it off.
Yeah, he did.
He really pulled it off. Anyway. So I want to thank the person that put the donation in to send me to Elvis. That was beautiful. Of course, I went and had that popcorn on top of it, and the Chinese afterwards, so that didn't help it. So it's like I've had all this salt, so it's going to take me at least. I did a water pill Monday. I did one today too. It's going to take me at least a good week to get all that off. And get back.
Here, Shar, is that you did the show.
Yeah.
You've been eating popcorn, but
yes.
all of a sudden I heard popcorn and I went, well, that didn't come from me because I don't eat popcorn. And when I said it, 2 days later, you were able to see the show, in which at the, I guess, movie house, you had a lot of popcorn.
Yeah.
And that when you occurred to you the next morning, you went, oh, Nancy wasn't talking about Dad saying you've had too much popcorn. It was the movie popcorn that was so impactful.
And the flavoring I was putting on the nightly popcorn too.
Right.
That was
so sometimes the message in the rear is because they know what's coming.
Yeah.
And that's really important. I've had a lot of people I get messages for people in the session. I can even, which is strange. People show up at my house and they'll tell me things, and they just happened in a group. And I got this message and I didn't know what it meant, but the person I was talking to did. So it doesn't even have to be with you. I'm not going to say I want you to call me. Oh, she got your messages before I even talk to her. I'll have these people show up. I talked to a lady the other day. I says, who's your redheaded relative? They showed up at my bathroom. And like, oh, please leave me alone, my life. And I gave her the message and it fit what her life was about. So it can be inconspicuous. It could be future. Can it be past? Absolutely. Most of the time it's past. They talk about what they miss the most. One lady showed up and she missed having her hair done. Such a little thing. You wouldn't think that would have been important, but she liked I can't remember how she had her hair, but she liked going into the beauty shop because of the special attention. And that relative knew what that meant. Now, the downside to getting a message, I don't eat popcorn. And for me to say popcorn, no, I wasn't channeling. I heard it and I went, oh, that's a strange word. Okay, popcorn.
Yeah.
And I've always told people, I either going to be really right or I'm going to be really wrong. But when I get something obscure, I was talking to somebody, I said, rhubarb pie. I've never had a piece of rhubarb pie. Like, why was that someone's favorite? It was an important message. I want to get to a place of saying people, I have one lady, she'd get her answers and her messages. She'd leave the house and she'd look at the license plate in the car ahead of her. She would have been asking a question and her decisions be made on a license plate. That's risky. That's really risky. But I've had messages. Have you ever noticed how synchronous it is? Like you'll watch a TV show and a commercial come on and you're just thinking about it, or a word will be said, or a movie will come on that you weren't expecting because they replaced it with something and it was what you wanted to watch. It's because spirit people. When I lived in Tucson, Arizona, there was somebody who had gotten a big tip. And in my business, I don't get tips. And I thought about it for once and I thought, well, I'm paid for what I do. I don't deserve a tip, but everybody else gets a tip. And I thought to myself, well, that's pretty low of me. Well, I got in the car And the one song is my favorite in the whole world. I turn on just in time. On a clear day, you can see forever. And what that meant to me was I can see the result of my inaction, my action. I should not have to get it. It was worded in such a way that it gave me an answer from a relative to say, don't worry, you've done good. It's okay. I don't need a tip to get my gratitude. So, and I don't want tips, everybody, because I work hard for your answers, and that's good. That's good feeling. The children will come up with answers from relatives because they're such an easy channel. How many times has a child said something you go, wow, how do they know that's what I was thinking about? And that's happened like 3-4 times in the last 10 years. The people come and call me, is my child intuitive? Well, clearly something going on. They're very receptive.
Well, I have another good one too, just recent.
What?
In that we've had, my dad always loved boats.
Oh, yeah.
We had 3 boats in a row that he named the Gypsy Rose.
Oh, that's a good one.
After my dog passed away in December, I remember telling the breeder, I said, well, give me a couple months, I might be ready for a dog, we'll see how it goes. And I get a call 2 weeks later. She says, I have a dog. And I said, well, God, it's awfully soon. She says, no, you have to see the picture of this dog. And I said, fine. She sends me the photo, and this dog is named Gypsy.
Oh, golly.
And I thought, oh my God, it's from my dad.
Yeah.
And so I had to have her. So I ended up going to Bakersfield to get her.
And is it just Gypsy, or did they name her Gypsy Rose?
It's Gypsy, but I call her Gypsy Rose.
That's good.
Him, but it's Gypsy, But I mean, when I heard the name, I was just going, oh my God, he found me a dog.
That's goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they got the person to call you back.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't expect it. She told me she had no dogs available. And then within like 2 weeks, I get this call. Well, I've been training this one, and she failed her working classes. So
You got one that failed.
I got the failure. Yeah. I got the reject.
Failed. Yeah, right.
But yeah. And when I heard the name, I just froze. Like you say, goosebumps. And I was just like, oh no, this dog.
Shivers.
It's meant to be. I got to get this dog.
Yeah.
Because my dad was a good judge of character with dogs. So And then I had one more instance, and then we can go on with this because you guys want to tell your own stories. My mother loved Christmas. Loved it. And so I always had 2 Christmas trees. I had one up that was in the living room that was a normal tree, well, for me. And the other one, as you can see, I like aloha.
Give a description of what you put on them.
The other one was in the hallway, in the entryway. It's every year is a Hawaiian tree. It's Hawaiian tree. Anyway, so I was telling my mom, because my mom was gone already. And I said, Mom, I got to take these trees down. It's, we're hitting February here. I got to take these trees down.
End of February.
February, yeah. And I left them up long in honor of her, longer in honor of my mother. And I said, well, I got to take them down. So I went to Target to get some storage boxes. Bought the boxes. I'm listening to, I don't know, some Hawaiian station. Just normal, normal Hawaiian music. You guys know the stuff.
Yeah.
Put you to sleep Hawaiian music. And I get in the car, I'm starting to drive, and all of a sudden I hear a Holy Night.
On the Hawaiian station.
On the Hawaiian station.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so I looked over to my passenger seat and said, okay, you win, but I'm going to take one tree down.
She wanted it up. Which one did you take down, the other one or hers?
One, because it was in the way of everything in the hallway.
Okay.
So then I left. I have a 7.5 footer still up in my living room. But yeah, that was her saying, "Hey, I don't want these things. I don't want them taken down." And I'm like, "Well, I gotta take one down, so we'll just, we'll just."
Yeah, I think she got a lot of good feelings from it. Really positive for her.
Yeah. So one is up all year round now. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I
love it all year round. They say that people who have Christmas ornaments and trees up longer than the holidays, usually happy people. Yeah. I think it does make us happy. We're getting off track, but it's still fun.
Well, it's nice. My newer tree is one of these from QVC that my friend had, and I can change the colors of the lights for the holidays. So I have pastel lights I can use Easter. So it's nice.
Year round pastel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can, and then it's a candy tree, so I mean it's good all year round, really. Because it's got little candies on it and stuff. So
does your cat and dogs get into it, or
the dog The new dog ate some of the candies, even though they're not real. But everything goes in the mouth.
They're
She's only
pretty.
3. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So anyway, I leave one tree up for my mom. And there's a lot of stories about. There's a few stories about my mother. But those are the ones that stand out between my mother and father.
So
Those.
who gives you more messages now, your mom or dad? That spirit.
I've noticed lately it's kind of frightening. I don't know. He's been around a couple of times the last couple of months, which is scary because my health always comes into question with that. But
What
um,
you question? What? What was that?
every time I'm unhealthy, he comes around. So it kind of scares me.
I,
But
I don't think so. I think he had a really hard life, hard death.
yeah,
Um, and I think everybody wasn't like really a great dad,
he
sort
was
of.
all right. He was okay, but
Yeah, I think he's trying to make it up. I think
I
he
mean, he
wants
gave
to
me everything
get
under
better.
the sun. But towards the end, he had mind issues, so it was real difficult towards the end.
Yeah, he had,
Real difficult.
yeah, yep. So that's
I'm
another
not saying he was
household.
a bad dad. He wasn't. He was a great. I mean, for the most part, he was a great dad. But he had at the last few months of his life, he was hard to handle. It was real tough. You
Yep,
know.
yeah. I guess I'm just remembering the hard times.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I mean, those are the 3 or the 4 major events that have happened. Over the last my mom's been gone 2 years, and all this has happened over the last 2 years.
So
So
let's.
guys, you do get signs. There are signs, whether you dream about them, whether it's little things like even they talk about how the woman likes certain birds, and then the bird shows
Well, I
up.
was going to mention butterflies, dragonfly.
Yeah,
The movie
yeah,
Dragonfly is a good example of manipulation by spirit of a dragonfly showing up.
yeah.
And that poor parrot. If anybody wants to watch a good movie, get hold of Dragonfly because the manipulation of in a positive way. That poor parrot that they shared a house with was unfortunately manipulate. Flap around, said her name and Dragonfly, and it was just amazing. But I have a lot of clients that say, uh, well, birds show up, butterflies show up,
Hmm.
dragonflies show up, the rainbows show up, the clouds form a message. I think
Yeah,
it's how you feel best about getting a message.
yeah,
Um, my mom just gives me warm and fuzzy feeling, like mom, show up. Sometimes I can
yeah.
feel her, like maybe she's got her hand on my shoulder right now, but it's kind of like a warm and fuzzy feeling for me. It doesn't have to say anything. That'll be fun to hear her voice. I always say people are dealing with those who might pass soon. Get a tape recorder and record the voice for as
Yes.
long as their voice, because that's one thing we forget is how people sound. And you want that. You don't want on an answer machine. Tough. That's so tough. But
Hmm.
I always encourage people, please do that. And dying, they like little gifts, not necessarily candy, but if smells good, a candle or rose and things like
Hmm.
that they can touch. And those kind of memories is what they'll present to you when they come back. Say you give
Well,
a lady a rose, then every time
yeah.
she shows up, she shows you a rose color, rose smell, kind of like the
See,
last
that
defining.
was something I did that not everybody does too, because being a ghost hunter and having talked to people about, how sometimes they'll smell your grandmother, you'll smell lavender or whatever when they come. Well, what I did was when my mother passed, I knew she didn't want to be
Right.
dirty, so
Hmm.
I went ahead and I bathed her before the coroner came. I went ahead and I bathed her in a certain soap that
Hmm.
was scented, so when she comes around, I can smell her.
So that's the last thing she smelled.
Yeah,
It'd be like a rose, but you gave her perfume
yeah,
soap. How lovely is that?
yeah.
So the last memories and I tell people when they show up, this just happened. Oh, it might have been my class or something else that um, oftentimes I have someone show up. And of course, I don't know these people, but I'll say they're just a certain way. And it takes them
Hmm.
the moment they say, oh, that's what we buried that person in,
Hmm.
especially youngsters, because that's the last thing they saw themselves. And remember those kinds of things. Like I like shampoo with the coconut smell. So when people my kids hug me, grandkids and whatever, oh, grandma, you smell so good. Well, I'm going to smell like coconut
Sure,
smell.
absolutely.
That's kind of a nice smell. And I like but there's something about hugging somebody and they have a scent. Um, so different generations smell differently too. So grandma and grandpas from the past, the women often smell like soft powder, because in those 50 years ago or 60, women used a light powder after a bath, made them feel fresh. So I get that sometimes. It's so light, it's hard to describe. Almost like you got bath powder and you fluffed it once, and that after glow, after scent, it's just lovely. And of course, men like to show if they died in bed, the whiskers. They'll go like this. Pay attention to my face. Because that's how they saw themselves after they got out of bed. But remember, our great grandparents smoked a lot.
Yes.
And they'll show up the smoke of cigars. And I, like, oh my God, I can't breathe. Oh, that's Grandpa. He smoked those old cigars. But we're very.
I'm not saying look for signs because you're going to go nuts, but I mean the signs are going to happen when you least expect them. So you got to kind of be on the lookout, but not all the time.
I was going to say not all the time, but you have to. Oh, what am I smelling? Oh, so when you smell something out of the ordinary, then pause and think, who is that? Because you're right. Unless they're coming to see me, which is a planned event, they're doing their life, and most time people are distracted.
Yeah.
And if they're grief or in sorrow, their energy is not easy for them spirit people to penetrate. And I'll tell somebody if I'm doing a phone session, please, I kind of like joke, drink a glass of wine or something, get relaxed. I don't promote that, but relax. And if you can meditate, whatever you call meditating, I have a couple meditations I like, though I don't need it to do what I do because I've done it for so many years. That's just a switch for me. Envision a pond at midnight with the moon lit on the top of it. And you're sitting on your knees looking into the pond, on the pond's surface, and see if you can calm the water. And the moon gives a reflection of being a circle versus hit with waves. And if you can iron out the waves, make them flat, then that's what your energy looks like, because your focus is off what you were doing and on to something else, something very peaceful. And I've done that a few times trying to go to sleep. And it really is and I find that people's minds are so busy that sometimes it's hard to filter out everything so you can concentrate to sense a smell. One thing you got to pay attention to, and I wrote a poem. It's on my website, one of my websites or blogs. And it was in Tucson that this happened. My mother had passed away. And I was sitting there just thinking of her. And I find that as time has gone on, the one thing I miss is calling her. Just picking up the phone and calling somebody. And I was sitting just relaxed, and all of a sudden I got hit by a breeze. And I was thinking of her, and it came to me, this poem that goes on, that I had closed the window. So the breeze came from my mother. The window was closed. There was no breeze, no air conditioning, nothing. And though the breeze was only hitting one side, my left side of my body, I went, oh, duh. So I always tell people, pay attention to surroundings. Not like me with a sweater on and air conditioning. That's not the same thing. When a gentle breeze hits you, it's them coming fast to you.
I just think maybe for me it might be a little easier because I spent 6 years here alone with my mom.
Yeah.
I constantly was with her, so I noticed things like I'll be like watching TV, and we would go to the movies, and she would grab my hand a certain way, and her nails would dig into my palm real lightly. Oh. And so I've been watching TV at times, and she'll grab my hand, things like that. And I noticed that because, like I said, I think I spent so much time with her. I know.
So you could feel her spirit hand.
Yeah, in my hand.
Touch yours and wrap your fingers, trying to show how it meant.
Yeah.
I can almost see her just wrapping her fingers under your palm of your hand.
Yeah, that's what she does. Yeah.
Is that what she does? I can see that.
Yeah.
And nicely, gently.
Yeah, real gently. If she would do that at the movies, and I forget what I was watching on TV here, and she did it, and it's it's just stuff like that.
That gives me goosies. I
Yeah,
like
but like I said, I spent a lot of time alone with her too. I was with her constantly. So
get used
I
to in little
yeah,
nuances
yeah.
that
So when stuff does happen, I tend to notice it more.
Mhm.
But it'll happen. And I mean, sometimes you're not ready after someone dies. You're
Mm.
grieving so deeply. You're not ready, and they don't want to come and put any more stress on you either, because they know
Hey,
if they show up,
that's a great point. Thank
yeah,
you.
they know if they show up, they're going to cause you even more heartbreak.
We talked about that before, like what dreams may come. I make reference to that because it's easy
Yeah.
to get hold of. Where Rob Williams says joined his wife in the cemetery where he's buried, and she's already in deep grief. And then the essence of him overshadowed comes over her, and and then he backs off and realizing she can't handle that. That's too
Hmm.
much.
Hmm.
So he lets her go, and that's when after that the story goes on. Everybody, you got to watch it. It's really great. And I think they must have had someone like me given the
The
writers had
advice
some
for
good
yeah, yeah,
information given to
yeah.
them. Oh,
I
my
hear
God.
Kitty.
Yeah, that's Joe. He's got us. Where are you? If he doesn't get attention, sometimes I reach up and put his
He
claw
wants to be a
straight in
vlogger
my eye.
too. See,
Huh?
he wants to be a vlogger too. See,
I don't know, but he's a stinker. He sounds like his son.
yeah.
He's just a
But
ball buck cat.
you might see him in a dream right away. You might not. I mean, you just don't know. It just depends on. And I hate to say your state of mind, but like I said, the last thing a loved one wants to do is stress you out further.
Right.
If they know you're not ready, they're not going to. They're not going to come. I mean, that's all there is to it. And I've seen it time and time again with clients. When we've been out on ghost hunts with clients. And
And
then
you
there's
see
the
it
times.
during a ghost investigation, the
Oh
people there
yeah,
are
where
grieving.
people are mourning somebody, and then it all links together because if somebody opens the doorway, and you know this as well as me, if they're mourning and they're wishing for someone to come, they're going to open a doorway inadvertently without realizing it, and
Yeah.
so other things come through that doorway. So we get called out, and then upon the interview, we find out that they lost a loved one, and they've been really mourning this loved one, and
Oh,
they were hoping beyond hope that it was a loved one, and it's not the loved one because they've opened this doorway. But it's because they're not ready because they just don't want to. And I'm
so
not saying you have
all
to
you
face
think
the.
the house isn't, excuse me, infested with ghosts, and it's actually their loved one trying to touch base with someone who's grieving.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens too. So I mean, you get both sides of the coin with it. So I mean, you may want to see somebody horribly, horribly, horribly bad, but you're
Yep.
just not ready. You
Yep.
don't realize you're not ready.
That's pretty tough stuff. Pretty stuff. You have to question when people call you to find out if someone has died recently to kind of get a gist. You have to appreciate there's a lot of grief. And when I talk to someone in a lot of grief, their energy is flashing off their body.
Hmm.
Well, guess what? If there's a spirit that isn't that person that passed away, you're going to feel them all. And
Hmm.
our houses are full of people. Someone said, well, there's not in our history, there's more people alive today than all history. Oh, excuse me. We've had two or three civilizations before us. 12,500 years ago, before the Ice Age came in, we had people before that. We've had so many people, and they come. I believe in reincarnation now. Article just came out. Well, we're talking about grieving. William and Harry have lost their mother, and they're still grieving. And a boy in Australia is saying he saw a picture of Diane. He says, "Oh, that was me when I was a princess." He's only 4 years old. So the family's grieving. How will they handle knowing that maybe that 4-year-old is their mother? That's pretty tough when they're in their castle. There was a picture of, I think it was Megan. Was it Megan or might have been their wedding? I'm not sure. Could have been the old Williams wedding where Kate was standing there and the silhouette of the mother in a wedding dress, silhouette or a ghostly form was in the picture. Who was that? Anybody have an answer?
I
And that was quite profound. It could have been before this little boy was born, but I found that kind of scary, spooky, wonderful, all at the same time. And when you're in grieving, your energy is not calm like the pond at midnight.
hmm. Hmm.
And your perception or reception of those in the room is going to be greater, but you're not sure who it is.
Hmm.
And one thing we have to remember is that people have a smell and a tendency to not only have a smell, but a texture. They have a density to their energy. And so when they newly pass for up to 6 years, 6 months or a year at least, they're so solid. So when they come around, you get a sense of their essence, stronger. We all have a body smell, whether we like it or not. So when you have family hugging and kissing you, they feel it different. I can kiss my daughter and my son, and there's a different dynamic there that feels different. And if one of them passed, I would know that that feel against my body. So same with relatives that pass. How do you think through? How did they smell? How did they? What was their scent? I'll call it a scent. That's a little more. That's a little bit better sounding. A person's scent versus smell. We smell, Grandma. But I want to make light of that. More spirit women will come around than spirit men. More people ask about spirits who are around. A lot of women show up. Why, I don't know. Because we change roles a lot. Shar and I have talked many times about past lives. And the past life regression I gave you, in the period of your life now, I want to make sure we talk about that. You were a man in a past life living out a certain age in that life where you felt like I should have been more. I should have been way famous or way rich or something. And you're going through that now. Where do I want to go with this? Let's make a big splash. Let's do it now. So the dynamic of that life is playing into this one. But you were a man, and 3 or 4 lives that I've seen in my past, I was a man. So we changed back and forth. And I told you about the one I'm a woman where I'm a nun before the girl before initiate, and I was scrubbing the floor wanting to help the community, and that's the last I can feel of her. So married a Catholic in this life, so maybe I'm feeling that fulfilling, helping people. Who knows? Who knows? I just made a comment. It seems like a lot of women show up, but though your dad is. I felt my dad for a while. I don't feel him now. He could be living another life another time. Though when I pass away, I can see him. So he'll be there to join me. Go ahead.
I think, again, it depends the relationship, because I know with my dad, he's just coming around now.
How many
Except
years has it been now?
except for the time that I was sick. Okay, we'll give it that. But other than that, he's been coming around more now, and I think it's because it's with the issues that transpired. I'm more willing to
Did he
forgive
leave
now.
in 2012?
2011.
11? So it's been 12 years. See,
Yeah, he came back in 2012 when I was diagnosed, and then I haven't felt him until this week. Or remember I told you there was someone in my living room the dog was watching? You said it was him.
Yep.
So it's only been the last couple of weeks. And I just think because I'm more willing to forgive
Ooh, okay.
the last few months,
Takes time to.
Yeah, I'm finally like dealing with that.
So he can feel that energy.
Yeah.
And that's allowed him to feel like he'd be welcome if he showed up.
Yeah, because in the past, like when I've done conferences where he has come into a seance that we were doing, and I was just like, no, don't want to talk to you.
Oh, so you turn him away. So why should he try again?
Yeah. But I'm more open to it now. I'm calmer about it now.
I have felt in sessions where the man has shown up and the client, I don't want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Or the mother, goes both ways. I'm not citing one or the other. And they'll say, well, I don't know. I have somebody I talked to who had a very uncomfortable, the mother was in her life, but it was very, very difficult. She was hardened and not a warm and fuzzy mother at all. And so I don't know that she has shown up to my client friend, but the father has. And the father wasn't in her life until he died. And so she just saw him in a little tiny window. Kind of interesting how life is. Why do we pick a life that gives us such dynamic lessons or experiences, rather? And then we want to know if we can talk to somebody. Nancy, can I come over? And so in essence, you can get the answers yourself by meditating, relaxing, allowing, and being in a receptive mood. But be sure that it's them versus someone else who wants attention, because other spirits lack that family, lack that attention, and they can also come around. So you be very specific what you ask, and don't. I had one lady said to me, well, I did what you said. I just had this big old question. I had like 10 questions. I says, so if they gave you an answer, what question? So when you talk to your spirit people, one sentence, couple words, am I doing okay? Am I making the right choices? They're not going to say no, but they could say caution or careful. You want that first words that they say, and you'll get the feelings, you'll have the sensation. Everybody can talk to people. I'm just put together a little different. What makes me who I am. If I knew that, I'd sell it to you for a nickel. But it is what it is. I do what I do, and I call it, that's what it is. So I find it very gratifying. I find it mysterious. I find it addicting. People want more and more and more. You shouldn't have to. Yes. I find it entrapment, because spirit people, I had a lady come to me and she wanted me to talk to the spirit guides. Oh, great. I love that, right? But she wanted them to tell her the next move in her life. And I said to her, so you've picked this life for the experience of being alive, but you want a spirit person who's lived and died to come in and take over your life and your life choices? I wouldn't do it. And I told her why. I says, I don't want the responsibility of not hearing, right? Nor do I want them responsible for your life, because then you'll never learn to make decisions and live your life fully and take, wow, I can live my life. I can make every decision. I have full control over my life. You know how valuable that is? How many people, million people in history lost their lives, millions, because they had no free will to do what they want to do. This is really a big gift to be able to say, I'm fully in charge. It's nerve-wracking. And I just went through this myself, selling the house and deciding to be down here with my husband. And you say, well, you should be with your husband. Houses are totally different. It was a really hard decision. So I left up the universe. Sometimes I have to not know what I should do, but sometimes the universe said timing is everything. So I made my mind up. I let the universe kind of say, okay, that's all right. All right, that's okay. Because maybe I got too embedded with the problem. I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but that's not the same thing as asking guides to tell you something. Timing is everything. If you have life choices you have to make, sometimes it's better to wait it out. If in doubt, don't do anything at all. That's your best answer. And if you ask for spirit people to guide you and tell you, then they're living your life, not you. What, Shar?
And the other thing, too, is sometimes they just want to show you that they're okay. They don't want to have questions. They don't want to have a bunch of questions thrown at them. You might see them in a dream. I saw my mother 4 days after she passed, and she was sitting on the couch in her usual spot, and her gray hair was starting to recede. It was starting to get dark again. So she was showing me that, hey, I'm okay. Look, I'm getting younger.
She's getting younger.
I'm getting younger. And she didn't say anything. She just was sitting there in her spot where she was over watching TV. And they might appear you one way, and then the next time you see them, they're going to look younger, or they're going to look different. Did I ask for questions? No, because if she wanted me to ask her questions, she would have somehow let me know that in my head. So I just kind of watched her, and so you can't always be asking questions either, because they get tired of it too. It's hard. It's hard on spirit. Just like when we use dowsing rods in investigations, it exhausts the energy. That takes a lot of energy for them to do that.
It takes a lot of energy for us to get it too.
Yeah.
People don't realize how tiring it is, because we change our vibration. Ghosts are the same thing. Shara's investigation, she's got to change her energy field to be able to receive information, even though she's using electronic equipment. We're always on. We're always connected to whatever we're doing. Someone asked me, "Oh, you're always on the on switch?" No, I don't like doing that all the time. I can feel people on me all the time. Sometimes they show up, like I said, kind of throw me off. I don't know where they get the energy. Did they siphon it off me? And people don't realize how tiring it is. So I get called. I got a little note today. Someone wanted to know something. They have no idea how tiring it is, because I have to go to them bridge. So the spirit people have to lower their vibration to us. We're kind of like mud versus the big blue, beautiful ocean that they are. And they have to change their vibration. So it's tiring for them to be able to sing like a bird. And they have to go, blah, blah, blah.
It's a lot of energy. And I call it being goosed by a ghost. That's what I call it.
Goose by ghost. Oh, there
Being
you
goosed
go.
by a ghost. I've been on investigations where all I'm doing simply is like, you guys don't watch Ghost Hunters, right? Everybody, who the hell doesn't? And you go out, you do the post, and you're talking to the client. You say, well, here's this EVP, see what you think. Push the button. I've been on these things where I haven't grounded myself, and I've been in the middle of doing that, showing the client what I got, and then all of a sudden my stomach does a flip.
Oops. Oh, that's it.
And I know what happened. So I try to force my way through because now I'm sick to my stomach. I try to force my way to get through, get done, go home, and I'm down for 2 days. That's how quick they can zap your energy if you're not careful.
You told me that, and I've heard it from you several times. Excuse me, everybody. You go on investigation and you're on, and you don't realize that the spirit people who are there, ghosts or not, especially ghosts are this way. They're hungry for life, and they swarm around you, and they want the feeling of heat and vibration and energy. So all of a sudden, you have 2 or 3 spirit people. Oh, human being, let's go over there. Let's go over there. Let's see if they'll notice I'm alive here. And the first thing you know is, my God, you're tired. I remember when I started Ken and Ollie's Church in Citrus Heights as Spirit of Grace, UCM, Universal Christ and Master. And we had a lot of people Friday nights. It was kind of like I was a novelty act or something. And I would talk to people, okay, but when I talked to the spirit people, yeah, 30 people with all the relatives, I would sleep the whole next day. It was amazing. Like, I had to think about why that was happening. And because the spirit people want, oh, talk to me next. And I want you to say this and this. And they have to charged up to be able to talk. So guess where they're getting the energy?
So that's the thing. So, they may not always answer your questions. They may just appear to you in a dream because it's really energy consuming for them to do that stuff. To make
And they
those
want you to know
appearances.
they're okay, like Shar said, is her mother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm alive. I've had atheists come to me after they've died and talk to me and go, I was wrong. Duh. So in some ways, you survive whether you want to or not. You go to become spirit people, no religion over there. There's a God figure, but all these different religions of the world, they're community, they're tribes, they're groups for sanctuary. They're learning the philosophy of the great masters of the 7 great masters of the world. And yet, when you go there, no one ever talked to me. No one speaks to me of any religion. I was doing a show with George Lopez. I forgot his group, Port Orange Paranormal. And we were doing a group, and I saw a man that had a priestly outfit on, the big robe and everything. And I thought, how interesting, this man's ego is so tied into who he was that he shows me that he was a cardinal or bishop or something. That's the only time that's ever saw that one time. And I told George, I says, and what am I supposed to say on the air? And he goes, go for it. Just tell me what you're picking up. Because I wasn't sure I don't know what to say about that. And not to take anything from religion, but I think I was surprised. What's being said, Char?
There's a question. How do you turn on the off button so I won't be bothered by the spirits at times?
When I do a class, I think, let's see, they want to feel spirit kind. And there's people who have that receptive energy on all the time. You're wanting all the time. I got to a place and envisioned my life force as a walnut shell. Turn it off, boom, and I'm there. And I'm off all the time unless I choose to turn a switch on. So I'm as close in as I possibly can. And sometimes spirit people come so close that I can't avoid knowing they're there. But I call it drop the force. I drop my force. I drop the barrier. And that to me is the switch that goes on. And sometimes I say, if you want to know what's around you, drop your force. Just relax for a minute. And I envision cotton balls all around me, and you just let them fall. Poof. And then what
Ladies
happens?
and gentlemen, I'm going to teach you an easy way to do this.
Okay.
I'm going to teach you an easy way. Let me take this down here so I can see myself or my arms are. Hang on. Someday I'm going to have a second computer screen and not be doing this mess.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I want you guys to spray it. Put your palms like this. You can only see me once. Let me put that. Oh, here we go. Okay. Spread your hands out and bring them slowly together.
Oh, I remember this. Whoa, see, I can't even do that.
Bring them slowly together. Now, when you feel that resistance, that is your white light. Okay? Now, you can imagine that white light in a ball, like this. You can see it feels kind of warm, too, when you're doing this, you know?
I get really charged, tingly. I can't even.
That is your white light, all right? So when you go to bed at night, or you're in a haunted location, and say you're having issues with things bothering you, this light can now be spread out. Real slow, keep holding the form. You can make it any size you want. Do it around the room, whatever, fill your house up with it. That's your protective white light.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe in that light, they won't bother you. They won't. That is your barrier. It's kind of like a force field that starts.
That's a good way of doing it. Yeah, your energy field is bigger and it pushes them away. I go there. Mm-hmm. That's a good way. I just clamp up so I don't give my life force away. So it's a different way of thinking about it.
Right.
When I did classes at Spirit of Grace, I would use the ball thing so people would know that we have energy in our body. Mm-hmm. And they could start out like this. I don't feel anything. I said, well, push it out. And if you cannot, slap your hand. Like, whoops, like that. Sizzle them up a little bit. And then start over again. This camera's, I'm not sure which way. I think I have it.
I'm doing the same thing. Now, to give you an idea.
Just feeling your life force. What?
As sarcastic as I was back in the old days when I first met Nancy.
What a brat.
We're at the cemetery. It is probably about like 40 degrees outside because it was October. Nancy's got a bunch of people feeling the ghost energy with palms down, walking through. So, of course, in my sarcastic, bratty butt, when I write the article, I said, now you've got 100 people walking around with their palms extended like they're actually feeling something out in the cemetery. But once I started doing it, that's when I could feel it. It takes practice to feel this stuff, just like what I'm talking about with the hands, together to the point where you feel that sensation. It takes practice, and eventually, when you open your mind right, you will feel it. But that's how I was sarcastic about that stuff too. But look at me now.
25 years being an investigator.
Yeah, long time,
honey.
I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot.
Think it was that moment we all have that you go, there's too much. I'm overwhelmed with, my God, we have spirit people around us. Mm-hmm. I was flabbergasted, that aha moment when your life changes, the light goes on and never goes off, because you get so hungry for answers. And after 32 years, every day, every day I'm talking to somebody. And that's on the heels of 24 Pacific Bell. And the reason I bring that up is I was accounting and then engineering. Those are not jobs where you have a lot of interaction. Mm-hmm. So I was closed off a little bit. And then when I became manager, even though I was managing people for 7 years, it wasn't a touchy-feely. When you get into this work, it's touchy and feely. You better start feeling and so when that happened, I was so amazed at the magnitude of life force that we take that with us somehow, and it's over there. And my last class was a difference between a ghost and a spirit. Well, a definition for me, I'll just share it quick because the energy does change. A spirit person passes over and they may not always be happy, like, oh, fudge, or they're very excited to do it. Well, the ones that get old fudge, sometimes you'll feel them most because they're angry, right? And sometimes we'll feel them before we'll feel, oh, I just thought everything worked out fine. I had a great life. Thank you very much. I give you all this love and kisses. And sometimes you have to discern who is talking to you and whether they're trying to say, or is it, well, this is now in the territory of Shar. Because these people show up in your home and they're not necessarily your family. They're wanting anybody who's perceptive enough to pick up them, because they want to say something and has nothing to do with your life. But they will tell you what you want to know, so you pay attention to them. So,
Fabulous question. Does stress and that energy bring them to you? Yes.
I didn't understand. What's one more?
If you're stressed and you have that energy for being stressed, does it attract them more? Yes.
Absolutely. You know why? Because you're giving off your life force like a firecracker. Poof. Oh, can I have some of that? Thank you.
The other thing, it's a no-no with your ghost hunter. If you're not feeling well, you're not supposed to go.
There's truth to that. And if you're ill, I don't know about the rest of you. Even though I had 3 shots, I've had COVID twice in this variant too. It's like, God, I live on a mountain. Well, Walmart, everybody. Walmart or dollar store up there. We have 3 places to shop. Everybody goes to those places, and I was contemplating sharing a tidbit. So we have to really be discerning where we're seeing messages and hearing messages, because spirit people are very lonely. They want to be remembered. I get a lot of that. Don't forget me. And of course we don't want to, but how about, I'm somebody who likes the jazz generation. I got a lot of the old records. Well, who thinks of them every day? It's something to think of. So a lot of spirit people and ghosties like to go shopping. And you know why? Because a lot of people are there and they get all jazzed up. Restaurants are worse.
Movies too.
I never go to a restaurant without seeing all kinds of spirit people watch other people eat. It's amazing. Sorry, that sounds awful. People, Char made a comment the other night. Do they watch you in the shower? Yeah, because they want to be around humans. And in a restaurant and shopping malls, I tell you, if I turn those switches on, sometimes I don't want to. I don't want to see who's around. Sometimes I'll see a spirit person because they're sucking off somebody else, and so they're visible. Like the medium, or a ghost town, when the guy goes in for colonoscopy and he died real quick. Came back, all of a sudden he saw ghost town. Look it up. All of a sudden he saw spirit people everywhere because they changed him across the veil. And someone asked me once, well, you had that near-death experience. My God, it must have been for 2 minutes. There's so little of it, but it did happen. Did that make me more sensitive? No, because it was a month after my father died and I was seeing him right immediately. So, but did it help? I can't answer that. But the ghost people in the hospitals, absolutely. A lot of grieving, a lot of happy, babies being born, people being sick, people dying. The energy's everywhere. Do they watch us pass over? Curiosity, absolutely. Someone said to me once, do you go to the hospital ever? I mean, at times I was forced to. But as some of the shows, I don't want to go to the hospital to stick. I don't want to see them. Walnut shell, everybody, walnut shell. I close myself in. I don't want to see people grappling at me. That's not fun. It's not fun at all. I go to investigation. I was bringing this up in a class. The boys' home in Ione. We brought that up once, and I felt the spirit people very angry in there. And it scared me. And I told Shar, there's a force. I can't even walk to the front door. And I felt danger. Well, there was an intuitive there, and she fell through the floor. Like I felt like a young man push her into the floor. She felt, I don't think it was all the way, but the wood gave away and she fell through the floor. And I had picked something up like that. Another question, Shar?
Every other week, I'm still getting here. Every other week, Nancy does readings.
Okay. So
we're on an off week this week. Next week, Nancy will do readings. I was just thinking that since we're on this topic this week, maybe next week, you guys could come up with one question about maybe a sign you think you've seen at your house or seen around you that Nancy could answer who it is.
Yeah, let's make it even more interesting. Give me the name of somebody who's been in spirit or don't, and I'll tell you who I'm looking at who has been in your house
Sure.
as a
Okay.
spirit or a ghost. The only problem with the ghost thing is that I'm right here on my name tag. Um, Sometimes it's not who we think it should be. So I can describe it. Doesn't happen too often. Usually I can describe someone they're looking at or wanting to know from. But when we did this once before, Char, it was really successful. We had like 15 people and 15 in a row. It was really fun. And I described the person I saw, but what we are going to do is what signs are they doing? And yes, I think they can manipulate not flowers, butterflies, dragonflies. I don't know how they can move a cloud to look at something, or how can they create a rainbow. But I know that light switches, you mentioned that, Char, dimming of a light, absolutely. They can shadow a window so that the light in the room changes. I love that. I love that because that's hard to do. Almost like they create a shadow figure and they stand in front of it, and all of a sudden the light changes around you. Go, what was that? Well, hello, it was them.
So the whole thing is that if
Work.
Nancy starts doing readings right now, she'll be here all night,
Oh,
and
sorry.
she's not prepared for that today. She has to prepare. So next Friday we will be back here and we will answer your questions.
And one more thing too. I had a young lady write me a note and wanted an answer or something, and I was able to do it. Because I'm doing the show and giving my time on the air, please refrain from emailing me or texting in the box here questions. I cannot see the chat room, but I prefer when I do a show, that's when I give my time freely. I, I won't answer everybody. I can't. I'm too busy with my life. And we sold the house and I'm moving. And my husband's had some illnesses. My life's busy. I have to plan that. Okay. So I hope you took that with the best light, everybody.
So
Okay.
Friday, you guys can ask questions. Okay. It's just
Everything takes time, and I have to put my life force to you into your time. So it's not like the words show on the screen in front of me.
Yeah. So next week, have your questions ready,
Yeah.
and we'll do it, and we'll go one by one. And if we have to be here 2 hours doing it, we'll do it. But I mean, we'll do it next week.
2 hours. I better figure out where I'm going to be in 2 weeks. Make sure I'm rested. They don't know I drove down today and packed and unpacked and 4 hour drive. Ah,
But anyway, the whole point of today was that when you lose a loved one, it's very traumatic, but they are around you, and you just don't realize it. And sometimes they have a message for you. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you'll see them. There's cases, like I said, with my mother where I could see already she was getting younger. And I know
I'm
I've
not
talked
doing that.
my friends that have lost loved ones, and they'll see their sibling or whatever in one state, and then they come back later in a dream or in a vision, and they look completely different. They're healthy looking and all this. So it's like it takes a while for them to get to where they need to be. And that's the other thing too you got to remember. There's people online. I'm not giving names, okay? There's people online that will contact the deceased right away. That's not right. Okay? Because the problem you got is that hang on one second. The problem you got is that I gotta do something real quick.
This was disappointing. Jessica, what does that mean, honey?
I didn't mean to put that up there. I was trying to do something else with it.
Well, it showed the world she was disappointed in us, maybe.
I'm sorry, Jessica. I didn't mean to do that.
I think what she meant by that is you don't always get who you want. How many of you had readings and you want a particular question answered and it doesn't come up? It's because we're not supposed to know yet. And if that Jessica wanted dad or grandpa to come around and he's busy flying around the world, oh my gosh, they love to travel. And in time, they travel a lot. So everybody think about trips you'd like to take or a time in history you're very attracted to.
Yeah.
And you become a spirit person and all of a sudden all eras are open up to you. Oh my gosh, I have a client who is a romance novelist, and she's very attracted to the romantic era of Scotland and Ireland and the shows on TV of that era. If she were to pass tomorrow, guarantee you she'd go back to Scotland, 14th, 15th, 16th century to check it out. It's not going to be as glamorous,
Right.
but it's still romantic to her.
Right.
And I know that's what she would do.
Anyway, real quick, as I was saying, is that when somebody dies, they need time to adapt to their new life.
Yeah.
That's the issue. And when people try to contact them right away, you know, usually you're not going to get good answers, or like I said, they're not going to come because A, you're grieving, and B, they're trying to make that transition into their next life.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes because sometimes they don't want to go, sometimes they don't realize they're gone, and it's something they have to go through. So you have to give your loved ones time also.
And in particular, let's discuss that for a second.
Okay.
When people die of an accident, it's traumatic for them also.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen people, well, I've talked about the young man that bought his first convertible, like 30 years old, 25 to 30 years old, and he was changing a cassette in the dash in a mountain range area, 2-lane, going around, got hit by a truck, and he was propelled out of his body, and he's in the air looking at his body in the car, big crash. Somehow I don't know how this works, everybody, but I was witnessing when he was going, what the expletive. I saw his grandmother. He wasn't even looking at his grandma. He was so interested in what happened to him. Like there's such an instant. It takes a while, and they regret. Oh my gosh! So I always say, people, if it happened to you, how would you deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
Me, I'm taking a trip. I'm going to see the cosmos. I'm going to see different, like all the lifetimes I had in Japan and other places. I'm traveling. So I always tell my kids, don't miss me for a while. I'll be back. So but accidents, things like that, be sympathetic when someone has an accident. And it seems like most people go through their own funerals. I've seen a lot of them. I tell people what they're dressed in, usually with the coffin. I tell them where they're standing. So they've had a sense of that. So a lot of people go through and I always tell people, try not to grieve and be selfish. Oh, they left my life. I'm so glad they were in my life. So grateful I had the hours with them, everybody. And I know I don't want a child of mine to die, but I've had people close people from a high school chum to men and that I'd worked business with. All of a sudden they're just gone. And we grieve because they won't be in our life, but you can't be selfish because that was their time.
Mm-hmm.
The universe has a plan for all of us. We have to accept that. And that's been proven to me we're getting off track. But the people who passed and the ones who greeted them, they'll give me messages. Well, we could have taken them 6 weeks ago or a year ago, but they needed more time. And then the person said, oh, they were in an accident a year ago. Oh, they were almost electrocuted 6 weeks earlier. And I go, wow. So there is a way that people can have more time, but is only a gift. I always tell people be very sympathetic when someone passes unexpectedly and be soft and loving and say, you're going to be okay. And we're going to be okay. Give them permission to grieve also. And if they've been damaged, one show we did a month back, I can't remember, and a woman showed up who had been damaged and she needed to talk to someone in the chat room. And she said, this person in the chat room, I can't remember what I said. I just said, she wants someone listening to the show to stop thinking of her in a damaged way. They don't want you to think of them as in a car accident, what that looked like. The first time that happened, it was in Reno, and a young man fell overboard into the blades of a sailboat, a fast boat. And so the father pulled him out of the water. Can you imagine what that looked like? It's hard to get that out of your mind, but they don't want you to think of them that way. That causes them grief because you cannot remember them as whole and happy. And that's another level of grieving. Like, what kind of guilt did that man have not taking better care of the boy didn't fall into? Though he was a teenager, he fell in. And I had to call the mom or aunt or somebody back when I got home, and I said, you got to heal the father so the son can heal. So that's a good message I want to end with tonight. Yeah. All right, sweetie.
Like I said, this show is about, messages from the dead. Do we get them? Yes, we get them. But you're not always going to see them, like Nancy says, because you're going to Your lives are busy. Sometimes it takes that whole like a lot of the ghosts people see are when they're dozing off in bed because your mind is calm. It's that I call it the twilight state.
Kind of in between place.
Yeah, that in between place. So I
Uh-huh.
mean, you try to force the issue, and you're not going to see them. You have to just relax, and eventually, when they're ready, they will come. When they think you're ready, they will come. That's just how it is. But you know what? Next week, also, what I want to see in the chat room when you guys come in, not only do I want you to ask Nancy a question, I want to see if you've had any messages that you
Oh,
can
let's
share with us.
ask that. Yeah.
Yeah,
All the different ways people can get messages.
yeah. I
And
want to see.
another would be good is how obscure uh, the craziest messages. Let's see
Yeah,
how strange and wonderful certain messages can be.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I think that would be a lot of fun.
So I want
We
to see
could go
that
an hour
too.
and a half
I mean,
easily
it's
on
not only me sitting here blah blahing about my messages,
that.
but I want to see what you guys are getting. Okay, and I know some of you put some in here tonight, so save those for next week, and then let us
Yeah,
know.
please.
Because I think what I wanted to primarily do tonight was lay the foundation for next week,
Yeah, that's a
which is
really
what,
great idea,
yeah,
Sharp.
which is
I
going to
didn't
be
know
fun.
that.
Okay,
It's always
so
fun to do readings, but I'd like to hear what they have to say
yeah,
about
so we're gonna
everybody think
kind
about.
of do readings, and we're gonna see what you guys have to say about it. We're gonna lay the foundation in. Okay.
Oh, I
Anyway,
think that's great.
yeah.
It's
Anyway,
going
I
to
think Nancy's tired. She's been moving all day,
be
and it's my Friday night. I'm
fun.
gonna make it up tomorrow night now. California Haunts Ghostly Events is the main Facebook page now, and I'm going to be telling ghost stories tomorrow. You guys want to hear some creepy stories about the California Gold Country and
Your
what's
ghost
the different
investigation
creepy
ghost
places out
stories?
there? Come on over to California Haunts Ghostly Events at about I would say maybe 8:30 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. I know it's kind of late for you guys on the East Coast, but come on over there, and I'm going to be telling some spooky stories about some spooky locations. So if you're into that sort of thing, come on over. If you're already following me over there, that's great. Just come on in and visit. I'll get it all set up tonight for you. And if you're not following me, push that button to follow, right? Even today, if
Uh-huh.
hit the follow button over on Facebook, hit the follow button over at Twitch, and hit that subscription button over at YouTube. Okay, because we have a lot of videos out, and I think there's something for everybody. And like I said, next week Nancy will do readings. We try to have Nancy do readings every other week, if
Yeah,
possible.
we got off track, and I'm sorry, everybody. Um, I've been on her remote, and I'll never forget the one in Placerville, the butcher shop.
Oh my God, yes.
Do that one. Yes, that was a
Yes.
spooky thing. And sometimes we enter a building, excuse me, investigators, I do it in my head, my mind. And you see all this stuff, and I remember, well, I'm gonna get one, I'm gonna get dead animals everywhere.
Yeah.
It was awful. And then we found out afterward it was a butcher shop. So
Yeah.
that's a spooky one. That's a good one.
Yeah. And a lot of the times when I go in on a case, because I do have sensitive abilities, but I don't have them like Nancy. I don't want to see them. That's not my gig. I can feel them. By the way, a man's energy is really heavy compared to a woman's. But that's the thing. What I'll do is I'll let Nancy get into my head. I become Nancy's eyes, so I will walk around the building. And
Hmm.
I remember one we did in residential, and you said, "Well, look to your left. What do you see over there?" And I'm like, "Nothing. There's a woman right there." I'm like, "Okay, but that's what we do." And so Nancy will see through my eyes when I'm out on location, which is
Oh,
kind of cool.
and I'll tell you ahead of time where to go. How about
Yeah.
going
Oh yeah,
upstairs?
that's creepy too. She's done that where
One of
she's
the
even
first times. Go ahead.
seen the design on the wallpaper in a room, and I'll walk in and go, "Well, you're going to go in and make a right turn. There's going to be a hall. Make another left turn. You're in the kitchen, and the wallpaper looks like this." And Nancy's never seen the house before.
Yeah. Well, the guy in the rocking chair was what I was making
Well,
reference to.
that was the one too. Yeah, I walk in there, and sure enough, she says there's a row of rocking chairs off to your left, and there's a man rocking in the chair nearest the door. So I walk in, and sure enough, there's the row of rocking chairs,
And it's rocking.
and it's rocking. So Nancy's freaked me out a couple of times over the years.
How can I do this? And it's
Yep.
like, and there's a lot of people, oh, magic, cost you $bazillion to talk to me. I go, really? This is what I do, and I love it.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody can do this if you practice. No one can get by doing this just taking a class or two and never practicing. Um, the best way to get practice, everybody says, well, how do you do that? Blog Talk Radio pick a time. Just say free readings. People from around the world will call you.
Oh yeah.
You could put another name there. You don't have to identify yourself. Just practice. Give readings. Just say new psychic online.
Yeah. Yeah.
Free readings. Do it for half hour, free for nothing.
Yeah.
Make a lot of people happy. You got to
Yeah.
practice.
I was just thinking of the funny thing of because of what I do, what I've done for 25 years, and now I'm doing it full time because I'm doing the radio show. My
Mhm.
friend last night, because I took a break last night for dinner, and then I was on the phone with her and I said, "Well, I got to go back and talk to the dead," and she went, "Okay, bye." She just said
Always
everything.
normal. My life is normal. I'm just talking to the dead.
Talk to the dead people, you know. I told her, I said, I have to go talk to dead people now. You know,
That's my line.
that's it. She just goes, okay, bye. So yeah. But anyway, next week, guys, bring your questions, bring your stories, because I know there's some in here. We didn't get to them, and I apologize for that. But we wanted, like I said, I was trying to lay a foundation for next week, so we'd have all this built up, and you guys could really think out different things that have happened to you. So bring those, bring your stories, bring your questions, and we will get to them, and we will go one by one.
Yeah.
Really
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah. Okay.
We had fun tonight.
Yes. Monday now. Sunday I'm going to be here. More Lizzie Borden. Boy, was she something. I'm starting to think she did it.
Well, I've always felt that she did it.
Yep.
Whether she did it in the nude or she did it and then put a dress over all their clothes.
Yes.
Same end result.
Yeah.
I'm not positive. I think it was based on money. The father wouldn't give her money to go to the dances.
Yes.
And that's what I picked up anyway. So I think she had a sweetheart and they couldn't come together because of the father.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she killed him to stop so that she could have a life. And in reverse, the whole town shunned her. So she had to move away. So her life was unfortunately very sad.
So that's 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday. I'm going to be reading from my Lizzie Borden book. And we got a ways to go because not only will she, we got to go through the trial, then she's going to move. The house is haunted, and then the new house she moves into is haunted as well. So there's stories about that. Okay.
And it's haunted. I put my mind there and go, eh.
Yeah, it's haunted. Monday, all this talk about Elvis, right? Ivor Davis is going to be back with us. He was on the show 2 years ago talking about the Beatles. And he had spent a lot of time with the Beatles, and he wrote a real nice book about it. He's also written about Elvis because he spent some time with Elvis as well. So he's going to be with us on Monday talking about Elvis. So we're going to have that going on.
Didn't he talk about Elvis last time, or was it the Beatles?
The Beatles was the focus.
I recognized him. I must have listened to the show.
That was the Beatles show. So he's going to be talking about Elvis. He'll be with us Monday. He's coming back to see us. And then, like I said, tomorrow night, probably around 8:30 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be but talking about some of the haunted ghost stories that we've done and some of the stuff we've worked on with Nancy as well, because a lot of these Nancy worked on too. And so that'll be tomorrow night, but that's going to be over on Facebook. It's going to be going out Facebook Live. So if you're interested in that, check out California Haunts Ghostly Events, because that's where it's going to pretty much play. Okay, that's where we're going to be.
Shara's been very gracious to have guests on who we like talking about this. But she's had other people on. You need to check out her YouTube. Mm-hmm. And mine also, Nancy Matz Psychic. And because she has had a variety of people on that would get it, everybody can find something they're interested in.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun listening to the show while I'm working on my business or clean the house. I put the computer on, I pull it up, and I've listened to most of them. It's really fun.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully. So join me over at California Haunts Ghostly Events. Oh, also, I'm teaching a psychic development class.
Oh,
that's going to be Saturday the 23rd at 7 p.m. Pacific. And for those of you who, like we're talking tonight, who want to learn how to control their abilities or think they might have abilities, that's the class to take. It's a beginning class. It's a level 1. And I take you through meditations. I teach you how to open and close that psychic door, which a lot of people don't know how to do.
And something. Those people who have children that are gifted,
mm-hmm.
they could take the class to teach a child.
Yes.
Because I've had parents come to me, children, they're talking to spirit people. They don't have control, or, horror movies made out of kids talking to people who weren't relatives. And so parents take the classes to teach the child.
Yeah. So I teach you to meet your spirit guides and all that good stuff, and you'll meet your spirit guide, you'll meet your animal guide, you're going to meet your spirit. You're going to visit your spirit library. You're going to meet your spirit, see your spirit object. There's always a message. There's a box on the table. There's always a message in the box. So I mean, I teach you guys how to do all that stuff, and that's level 1 of abilities. You know, to learn how to open up, and like Nancy says, that's part of the process is learning how to open up. And this is what I teach you is how to open up and close it.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, well I'm going to shut up now.
Hard.
Yeah.
She'll teach you. I want to hear.
Yeah.
Is that one thing I want to do? It you allow it, and that teaches it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I teach you how to do all that stuff. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, and
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.